Bree.
Welcome to the Wrestler Review. Dylan got interrupted my load discussion to start this podcast because he has to be a father like a little bitch. This is the last episode I'll ever do with Dylan Gott. See you next week when it's the John Hastings review with wrestlers. Marty Jannetty and I will review people he's related to and their fuckability.
I'm gonna relate my stepsister, and let me tell you this: the review is 69 out of 10.
I give this hot bitch 5 ninja stars. A black guy sold me by a doc.
Ooh, yeah. I guarantee Marty Jannetty watches so much porn, he's the reason the algorithm switched towards step siblings.
For those of you who don't have the video, that joke was so good, my headphones flew off.
Whoa, that's the new spit take.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I got big earmuff headphones too. I was thinking about how stupid people look now, no offense, or how that's not stupid, but like how that's not a thing anymore, and in 3 years everyone will just be wearing them again. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. And I don't like I don't like those Bluetooth earbuds.
100%. You can't lend these to anyone, A, and B, like I lost one. Yep. I got it back at my mom's, but then I had to take a picture of it. Like I had to be like, they look like this, Mom. And there was so much wax in it that's the only picture I've ever taken and deleted in my phone. Or I was like, if someone finds this, then I'm just going to be put in jail. Because you can't clean it.
Yeah, they're like, what's with this? Did you remove and then concrete a dog's asshole? That's what this looks like. And then Dylan will have to say, I did, but that's not what the photo is.
Speaking of a dog's asshole, we're going to talk about
Dusty Rhodes. All right. Hot take, Dylan. I just read the research fresh. I was watching Cocaine Cowboys 2, the story of two guys with a speedboat. Guys, it's official. The 80s were not that cool, and that documentary makes it seem like they're like, hey, they were nice guys, but just drug dealers. Oh, by the way, they kept just blowing up people's cars. Anyway, listen, Dusty Rhodes was not disrespected by Vince McMahon. I was reading it and going, the internet didn't exist. No one watching the WWF was aware who this tubby fuck was. And even if you watch that's the best Dusty ever was, because Dusty in the NWA, A, was competing with Ric Flair, B, was the level of ego of cocaine with no cocaine, and then he gets to the WWF and it's like, you can just relax, we'll pay you money and you can dance and hang out with a black woman. And he was like, baby, it's all I ever wanted. Who want the club damage?
As you can see, as a tribute to Kevin Nash, I'm holding a microphone like him now. Thank you very much.
I really like that, by the way. I really enjoy.
Look at the adjective. Suck.
Yeah. Check the adjective. Come.
Check the adjective. Running. That's an adjective now. I love Kevin Nash. Anyway, Dusty Rhodes, exactly. All right, so he comes into the WWF as the Common Man. He does all those Common Man vignettes. Also, those are very close to my heart because I had a VHS that had all of the Common Man VH of those on it. And for acting school, we had an acting class as part of my college course, and I did the
What did you study in college? What did you study in college?
Comedy. And the guy was very upset. Yeah, they grade you 10 years in. So, like, actually, turns out we're rescinding your diploma.
Yeah, give us back your diploma, sir. No.
All the people that went into production have so much more money than all the people that stayed in comedy. It's great.
Yeah, but what's funny about that is all the people who went into production are still as angry as if they stayed in comedy.
Just accept your own death, and then you'll be fine. What was it? Though I did the one where he's shoveling horse shit. Doo-doo is good for me, and doo-doo is good for you. Hey, aren't you? That's part of it, where he smells shit and loves the smell of shit.
I think we all need to talk about that Dusty Rhodes had the greatest theme song in the history of the WWF.
He had the greatest theme song in the history of WWF. The polka dots
just
were
a
dumb,
common man,
but not that
Fuck
dumb.
Yeah, it's on my Spotify liked songs. I'll have you all know.
100%. It's it's amazing. I think we should do a wrestler review of Jim Johnson because he might be the greatest musician of all time with all the fucking straight up bangers.
That's such a How many fucking Dre produced some beats? Dre can suck my fucking dick.
Wait a minute. Was 2001? That was a great album by Dr. Dre. Was it all one genre? Okay, call me when he has 19 different songs, all completely different.
Tell me when that Dr. Dre is able to compose music while a man is in a very expensive suit shitting in a garbage can going, I want it to sound like that, Jim. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah. That's what represents Bret Hart. And he's like, the shitting? And he goes, no, the courage to shit in front of you, Jim.
Yeah, and also, like, I imagine the way he learned he was supposed to have these songs, he just got a letter to his house that said, songs now, and then he just had to guess which wrestlers they were and just make songs.
Songs was spelled with the Z, and also it included a photo of his young child that was just taken from in the house.
Yeah, he somehow got it developed in minutes.
Yeah. Can we just do the rest of the hour talking about how good that theme song, like, just the cowbell?
I can't believe I forgot how. Can't believe forgot how to talk about that. And obviously, Sapphire, as we talked about.
I didn't give a fuck about the NWA. Nikita Khrushchev, or whatever the fuck his fucking name
it was Nikita Khrushchev. Magnum TA is dead. Get me the president of Russia. All right.
Get me the recently disgraced premier of Russia. He's living in his apartments with his wife, and he's constantly wearing pajamas under a suit, according to a movie I watched.
Okay, so I believe we can all get along as boo. Please stop booing me.
I need
boo, fuck you. No, I just want everyone to be friends. Boo, Russia.
It is actually not referred to as Russia. It's the Soviet Union. Russia is one portion of the Soviet Union, and this is why you're all capitalist picture.
Geography bad.
You have to understand, booing is cheering in Russia. I am enjoying the praise.
You would have been a great heel in the NWA, just a geography teacher who tried to get you to learn about other places.
Do you know how you could bring that?
So off the coast of Cuba is thrown like a knife is thrown at him. He's dead.
But here's the fun thing that no one talks about is everyone is like, oh, the WWA, they're evil. AEW is I've like slowly worked on this, is subtly way worse and way more fucking like, if you just like interpret it ever so slightly, in that it's like, they are way more insidious in the weird things, depending on how you read it. Like just Kenny Omega with the handlebar mustache right there. I'm like, oh, basically they're implying.
Well, I'll say this. If you tune into AEW, you're going to see if they're a good guy and they're black, they're losing. And the only guys that win that are black are Powerhouse Hobbs, and he's a heel.
Yeah,
although he does have overalls now that say Powerhouse on them, which I would pay a lot of money for. If it just, it takes a certain size man to pull that off. But I feel like once you bench 305, they should probably be like, here are your overalls to say Powerhouse.
Dylan, I would love if Dylan and I will be, by the way, doing a comedy show together September 18th in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at Yuck Yuck. Dylan is hosting. I'll be headlining.
Ooh, yeah, call us because we get free tickets because we don't make any more or less money if they fucking just
email us if you're in Toronto. We'll put you on the fucking guest list. Yeah. And
if you're a patron of our thing and you're in Toronto, then just bug us and it'll be $5 to get in the show, and then also we'll buy a bunch of beers so you get staff prices.
Yeah, Dylan will buy.
I'd like Heineken and what was that? No, this is all for me. 9 separate orders of nachos. That's what I want.
Yeah, I would like 11 Heinekens and 11 separate nachos. Dylan, why? And he goes, I don't fucking give a fuck, Teddy. That's not the bartender's name anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy might be dead. I will be smoking mad weed in the alley and then only doing jokes about pro wrestling. Here's my opening joke. Hey, kayfabe, or like fucked her.
That's good.
Thank you. All right, let's talk more about Dusty Rhodes during his greatest run. So he's not crazy obsessed with spending more money than Ric Flair. He's wearing polka dots, which I never understood why anyone made fun of. He is way more fun of a character. He's a way better of a wrestler, because here is where they basically just give him 4 moves of doom and then he hangs out, where it's basically just Dusty Rhodes' moves, and I'm including getting in the ring, are getting in the ring, walking around a bit, shaking that ass, elbow, 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 weird arm spin, then another elbow, back in the back. Oh, and we're dancing to that theme.
Most of it is
He's just a
dancing. It's
common
also
man.
how Dusty Rhodes should have been kind of booked in the NWA, which is here's a fun part of the show. And I feel like, and I use this term a lot, but I feel like he's an Undertaker type character
He absolutely is.
because
the
it's like,
way
we don't need a belt. This guy just wants to fight. And then they also are like, he loads that elbow pad. How does he do it? And
I love it. I love
it's just
everything.
exactly Dusty Rhodes because it's not
also
big work rate. The NWA wasn't for Dusty Rhodes anymore because it's like Magnum TA and Barry Windham can have their 45-minute match. Dusty Rhodes is just like gonna dance a bit, throw an elbow, dance more. All the kids are having fun.
Yeah, exactly. What do you? Oh, Dusty Rhodes. He needs to be able to go an hour. No, he needs to do 10 minutes. All of that's dancing with a Rubenesque black woman named Sapphire. The only time in the history of pro wrestling where it was just two regular portioned people hanging out in the ring. Do you understand how many different opportunities Vince McMahon had to deflect during the steroids trial? How he didn't blow up a million photos of Dusty Rhodes and being like, that guy's not on steroids. Next. Like, do you understand?
Yeah, do you understand if Sapphire was around, which, by the way, we should explain this. We explain it in the Bad News Brown episode in more detail. But Bad News Brown basically is like, oh, Sapphire was like every black female character on the Amos and Andy show, so it also was a racist thing Vince McMahon did.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was definitely right. Like, I don't think she ever spoke. And I never understood, and it's a weird inside of Vince McMahon's head, which is like, well, that's a common man. Common men hang out with black people. Like, what? Like, yeah. Like,
and also, I think it's like, I just, sorry to backtrack in a weird way. I think the Virgil thing, only in wrestling would you be like, oh, he's named Virgil, and no one gets it. And instead of it being like an inside joke, it's like supposed to be mean. It's like, what's the mean part? Is that Virgil's like,
well, he's a
heel.
Like, it's Virgil works for this millionaire. So it's Dusty Rhodes, his name works for the Ted DiBiase. Yeah, this is the thing that's annoying, and you can see it influence now is all like the insight, like you see the amount of different stuff that they're doing in the run up to CM Punk definitely debuting in AEW, and it's all that similar stuff where it's like, get it? We're being subtle, and it's like, no, you're wrestlers. There's no subtlety here.
I like that though, not explicitly stating it. You could go back and forth on whether they should have been like, hey, CM Punk's going to be here for the first show. But I mean, if he's not, that would be, you probably listen to this unless you pay us money on the Sunday. So you know what happened. But if they don't produce CM Punk,
oh boy,
I don't know who they could produce. Anything short of John Cena's not on fucking SummerSlam is crazy.
I mean,
that would probably be the biggest
only
one.
Way they could beat.
Even if it was Roman Reigns, everyone would be like, okay, kill this guy. Where's CM Punk?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, give this guy leukemia. Let him die in the ring. We want to watch that. Good.
Also, how amazing is it that everyone was happy that Roman Reigns lost leukemia for 30 minutes, and then they were like, your gimmick still sucks.
Dylan, I was running laps in a park yesterday and had to stop because I was laughing because the guy kind of looked like Roman Reigns, and I was like, remember when he had leukemia? He came back for a week, and everyone was like, nah, fuck you. Yeah, it's
too scripted.
Yeah. Like, Vince McMahon just wants us to like that. I'll tell you how AEW can recover from CM Punk not showing up on Friday. That is, if I hear the tap of a cowbell, surprise, Dusty Rhodes had faked his death. He'd been in the back the whole time.
I mean,
do you know how fucking awesome that would be? Of just like, please welcome the chick magnet himself. He's just the cut. Oh my god! Literally, the United Center would burn down. What are you talking about? And it's just Dusty Rhodes. He's just holding a sausage. I got a brat, baby. Oh my god! Oh, I want that so bad. Comes in the ring, just a flip of the wrists, elbow to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega dies. Dusty Rhodes wins the AEW championship,
and then Anime is scrubbed from the planet.
Exactly.
Scrubs, he's like, no one's allowed to watch Japanese weird porns anymore, baby. And everyone's like, that's good.
Yeah, and then Dusty Rhodes makes the entire crowd just watch to the end of Doctor Strangelove, and he's yelling, but that's just anime, baby. That's just anime.
So we should talk about his WWE run in more depth. Here it is. He fused with the Twin Towers. He elbow drops. At one point, he when Boss Man's a heel, he handcuffs him to the ropes. This was on the VHS, and then puts his hat on and dances, and that's pretty fun.
That is pretty great.
And also the part where I don't know of anyone doing this before, or it's such an old school thing that no one does anymore. But Dusty Rhodes would literally point his elbow at people, and they'd be like, "Oh!" and they just like run in fear.
I love how much they get over It's weird because you think the Attitude Era was really the only time where it's like everyone's finishing move involved giving their opponent a concussion. Like even now, like what's Dusty Rhodes' move? He touches you with his elbow. Like that's like,
yeah.
And it was way more over than the Sky High D'Lo Brown's fucking,
which he actually killed someone with almost.
Yeah, exactly. Me,
D'Lo Brown.
Yeah, we met on a Southwest flight, and I said, "Bet you can't give me the Sky High," and he was like, "I bet you I can," and I was like, "Double dare you?" And he's like, "John, you know I'm D'Lo Brown. I cannot resist taking someone up on a double dare." And I was like, "D'Lo, I know this."
Double dare Brown.
Yeah, that's what D'Lo stands for.
Mm.
Yeah, double dare low Brown.
So I think it's pretty classic. I mean, easy stuff. How they book him. He comes in, beats some people, faces the Macho King. Can't beat the Macho King because you need something for Savage to do in like basically in between Hogan feuds, and then he loses to Savage, and they do a foray where he eventually obviously leaves because WCW is going to give him a ton of free money, but then they bring in his son, and him and Dustin team together. By this point, he's out of the polka dots.
He's out. I just want to just stress, like they do have that mixed tag at WrestleMania 6, which if you watch Miss Elizabeth coming out and being on the side of Dusty Rhodes and it's an opportunity to hear that theme song being played more than one time for an entrance. Let's be all honest. How exciting is that? The crowd reaction to Miss Elizabeth is so amazing because it's essentially it's like the main event is Warrior Hogan, but I would say the like semi-main event is that mixed tag. Like the entire crowd is like, holy fucking shit, we get to see this sofa beat cocaine Randy Savage with his gold hat. Like this is so exciting. And that mixed tag, by the way, really, really good wrestling from three people in the ring, and also Sapphire is there, and it is so good. And then and you also at the end you get to see Dusty Rhodes shake his fat ass. So good. Like there was a moment where like Elizabeth's kind of swaying, Sapphire's kind of swaying, and I think Dusty Rhodes invented twerking in the Sky Dome in 1990, ladies and gentlemen. 1990? Yes, 1990. Fuck yeah.
He is also just an entertainer. Like this really is the move where it's like, hey, go out there and dance. And guaranteed Vince McMahon, because you remember Vince McMahon booked this guy and essentially saved the viability or helped the viability of Bob Backlund's title run. And he started booking, don't forget, Dusty Rhodes, really why he was like a major player was he worked in parts in the South and then he worked in New York as well. And guaranteed Vince McMahon probably, I mean, by all accounts, like he knew he had to give Ric Flair the belt, but Dusty Rhodes he loved because he was like, okay, this guy's past his prime, but there's still such a great part of the card for this guy.
Yeah,
just understands how to get over, and he gets over immediately because there's you don't need it. He is the gimmick, and he's so much better than everyone visibly immediately. Go for it. Sorry.
And I just never understood why people were so fucking obsessed,
especially when you're 3 when it happened. Do you know what I mean? Like I was 4. I love Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, it's like Dusty Rhodes on WWF television. It's like, hey, your dad's friend is fighting Macho Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like the guy who came over to move that sofa one time and smoked, he's in the ring now. Like that's what it was like. Also, all this stuff of like Vince McMahon shamed him. It's like, it's not like he gave him Coco Beware's gimmick. He got to still be the American Dream or the common man. And then he won a bunch of matches and never went near Hogan because it's not like they're going to put Hogan near Dusty Rhodes. It wouldn't make any fucking sense. And also,
it's also Dusty Rhodes would probably outperform Hulk Hogan. Like there's no way.
Yeah, out charisma. You think you're absolutely correct. Also,
there's no way no one at the end of the match where it's like Hogan's doing his like thing he always does, and then Dusty Rhodes is literally somehow inventing crumping and 6 other dance crazes at the same time. He just starts doing Gangnam Style way before it, and then everyone's like, okay, well.
Yeah.
I like all these things.
If you listen to his WWF theme song all the way through, the last 2 minutes are just Gangnam Style.
Yeah,
Common
yeah,
man.
yeah. The common man, Macarena too.
Yeah, he's just the common man.
Yeah, yeah. And then he sings Cotton Eye
Here's
Joe.
a fun fact about me. I totally missed the Gangnam Style craze because I was moving to England throughout all of that time. So I only like found out about it when everyone was like, the guy who did Gangnam Style also did a bunch of songs about how American soldiers should die in a fire of glory, those pigs. And I was like, I mean, that's a pretty fun reveal for a one-hit wonder, I gotta say.
Gangnam
Like,
Style though. What a fucking hit though.
holy shit.
I would say that one hit is better than Sonic Youth's whole fucking shitty ass career.
No, wrong. Cool Thing, good song. That other song that has a bunch of muddy
It's
boots
a cool
references.
thing, and it's not Gangnam Style. Let's stop singing the song and listen to Gangnam Style. That's what they should do at their concerts.
That is
and then
the
just
song.
be like,
That's
this
the
is
song.
much better than what we've created.
That's just because Dylan doesn't like when women are in bands. I've heard him say it many times. He's gone to many an Alanis Morissette concert and just
Yeah, just go,
booed
no,
Yeah.
no.
We are at risk of a bear attack. Alanis, you're risking a bear attack. So it's this amazing thing is basically Dusty leaves the NWA WCW in the most dramatic way possible. He gets stabbed in the eye by the Road Warriors and then goes and just is a fun clown at a kid's party for a couple of years in the WWF, gets his son a job. By the way, this is peak Dustin Rhodes just looking like Dustin Rhodes just looks like the third tier bully in an 80s movie.
He really does.
So like he's just like, sir, I know steroids are bad for you, but just some of them would be good.
Yeah, he comes in, Dustin Rhodes does, as an NWA character where it's like, I'm this guy's son and I love to fight. But also, like I said, he's out of the polka dots by this point, so you fucking retroactive losers get what you want. You get him out of the polka dots, and what happens? And then he's gone. He goes to WCW. He managed Ron Simmons as Ron Simmons beat Vader for the title.
Yes, he did, and also he shouted loudly while Bill Watts did what Bill Watts thought was complimenting Ron Simmons, and Dusty Rhodes understood as insulting Ron Simmons.
He's also the creative consultant, which consisted of him eating a massive hoagie, and then he goes, "How about I win?"
Yeah. How about this? How about this, Bill? You stop saying those things to me.
You imagine the amount of talent in 1990 WWF though. Like people say that after the invasion angle, like when WWF fused, that's the most talent. But like you imagine you have Dusty Rhodes who like is 22 years into his career and Hulk Hogan on the same card. It's like you have 9 main events.
Early 90s WWF is sort of like mid 90s Saturday Night Live. It's like even the least talented guy on that show was Jim
Brewer.
Talented. Like
Catan.
Like the lower level guys, Jim Brewer, who is still awesome. Jay Moore, who's out of his fucking mind, but still a very funny performer. Like Chris Katana's not in the group. I'm talking about like the Chris Farley, Phil Hart, like the year when Mike Myers and Chris Farley were both on Saturday Night Live. Do you know how insane that is?
Austin
Tommy
Powers
Boy,
and Black Sheep.
Yeah, exactly. And Wayne Campbell.
But Dusty Rhodes would have been better than all of them.
Imagine if Dusty Rhodes was on Saturday Night Live. He
would just be like, I got a script for you. Crosses it out. I dance, and then it's just the best Saturday Night Live.
Lauren, I just want to let you know, first of all, New York very exciting. Second of all, I'm going to need the back half hour of the show between 12:30 and 1:30.
Legitimately, though, if they just did Dusty Rhodes dancing as a sketch, everyone could just take naps, and everyone will be like, there's no way that crowd wouldn't be like, oh, this is much better than like the president answering a phone call from the guy from KFC or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Also, by the way, if you think The Rock became a superstar, Dusty Rhodes, especially at this period, if he hadn't been guaranteed egomaniac, he would have absolutely become he could have been a Hollywood star. He has that like energy in a room. But
also, we should mention this. As good as a professional wrestler he is, is that bad as a color commentator. Every time we talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Every time Mike Tenay's like the Yakuza kick, he kick him in the head, baby. Like he just constantly undercutting everything Mike Tenay says.
And the young dragons are coming to the ring. That's good, baby. I recognize some of these gentlemen from when I go and buy rice. Jesus Christ, Dusty.
Hear me out, baby. I haven't forgiven them for what they did at Pearl Harbor. That guy is Korean. They did it too, I guess, baby.
Baby, I do not understand. And I understood World War II. It was America versus China and other countries that look like China.
Do not let my lisp fool you, baby. I am brimming with hate for the Asians, honey.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, actually, baby, because you would think being a Southern boy, I would have a problem with black people and or Hispanic. They are both kind, wonderful communities, and I feel accepted with them, and they are accepted with me. I do not appreciate anybody who does not use a spoon.
And my perception is they all use those. And I am quoting what they're actually called disgusting sticks.
Yeah. I am now quoting from a book I wrote. Quote unquote, the sticks of the devil. Devil horns point up. Those sticks point up. Do I? Dusty rest its case, baby. Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, there's 2 volumes to Dusty Rhodes' autobiography, My Life and I Don't Like Him, and then it's just a list of places he's been where the people he did not like.
When Dusty Rhodes returned to the NWA, he wanted his nickname to be the American My Struggle, but then they were like, Dusty, then you're technically just praising Hitler. And he was like, baby, I don't understand. I thought we
wrote
were back
this book while I was in prison. Yeah. That is the prison of the WWF, baby.
Yeah, the prison of the airport prison at LaGuardia Airport. Turned out you have to be fully clothed to get on an airport, and I was wearing nothing but my imagination, baby.
Can I ask you a question, John?
Certainly can, Dylan.
I haven't read it yet, but I just booked an appointment for a haircut, and they want me to sign a waiver. What do you think's on that waiver?
Something hot.
Hey, if we accidentally fucking just stab you, that's sick.
Yeah, the waiver. Yeah. Hey, you got to give us $80 when you show up. Wait, what?
Yeah. Shit on my dick or blood on my knife. That's how you pay. That's from also, what's it called? The Ashton Kutcher movie.
This podcast, I believe, is where that's from. Actually, I believe it's from the Luthez episode.
Ooh. So in WCW, I think one of the most unnecessary heel turns in the history of pro wrestling, WCW legend Dusty Rhodes turning on WCW after already attacking some of the members of the NWO during the Zbyszko Scott Hall match.
All right, let's just quickly so he comes back to the WCW as part of the creative team in 1991 and kind of just hangs out for 10 years. Like he's like occasionally a color commentator, occasionally a manager. I assume he's booking at some points, but it's basically just like Turner's like, we need this guy. He's juiced in. Fuck it.
It's like the J.J. Dillon thing where he would come out and be like, they have so much money that like, obviously it's a good pertinent idea to do this, but like sometimes you're like, why doesn't Dusty Rhodes come out and just fucking be Dusty Rhodes for a while? And everyone's like, that's a fantastic idea. And they end up using Ric Flair like that towards the end of the late 90s where it's like, we're getting murdered in the ratings. Okay, they'll probably have some weird Gilbert segment. Just put Ric Flair out there screaming about like how there's not enough mints in airports anymore.
Oh my God.
It'll get a great
post Vince Russo and Ric Flair is my favorite just because he's in a cabana. He's always in a Cubano shirt because he's put on too much weight. So he doesn't fit his suits anymore. And he is just yelling about his family. Like he's just constantly bringing up, like you can see why David Flair doesn't talk to him because Ric Flair even then was like, I got 4 kids, 3 daughters, 1 son.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is the NWO comes. At this point, Dusty is part of personally my favorite color commentary, my favorite wrestling commentary team, because it is like watching the Eagles tour. It is 3 men do not like each other. 3 men who are not hiding it. Like Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan are actively at each other's throats, and Dusty Rhodes is talking about whatever the fuck he wants to.
It is a lot like 2 people having a passive aggressive argument and one guy is just like really enjoying this.
No, it's literally it's 2 guys having a passive aggressive argument and Dusty Rhodes very excited to have a job. Like it's literally just like the WCW, and this is not talked about and might have been part of their winning formula, is they had Tony Schiavone, I'm going to say it, the second best wrestling commentator of the modern era after Jim Ross.
Certainly now. Like his
now
I want to say he's
much
like
better
Shawn
than Jim
Michaels.
Ross. He is way better than Jim
Yeah.
Ross. Jim Ross is
way
basically like Jim Ross. I've never seen someone who, listen, it's not going that well. His wife died horrifically, but like have you seen the recent clips of his podcast now that they're videotaping it with Conrad? It's watching like Conrad Thompson's in this opulent mansion house with a bunch of championship belts behind him. And Jim Ross, I've never seen a green screen tell me that the place he's recording in is sad. But it's like,
I mean, I think we've made fun of Jim Ross, which I feel bad because now that I think about it, now that I've like kind of listened to both his books, I'm like, oh, this guy's like, obviously his wife passed on, and now I guarantee this man is high 100% of the time. And somehow, if you can cut 100% into like a 99.9 when he's not, he's fucking hammered. Like, and he just holds his shit. And it's like, there's no reason for him to learn who the AEW guys are. And it's been long enough, and wrestling fans are fucking weird enough that no one thinks about things in those terms. So they're like, yeah, I don't care if your wife died in a scooter. Kenny Omega's finishing move's called the epitome of sadness, not a headlock. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, but it's that thing of, just to return it, it's also kind of, first of all, Jim Ross, you totally understand his vibe. I'm not done Under the Black Hat, but like the first half of that book is essentially just like, you're just waiting for him going, and that's when the gun didn't work, and I thought, well, might as well live. And like, you're just like,
oh yeah,
this poor, sad, bullied man.
Oh, yes. We made all those jokes before I read the chapter where his wife passed, and I was like, boof. Time to delete.
I do.
But it wasn't even on a Jim Ross episode, so who knows?
Yeah.
Still
I mean, listen, what the joke you made, I made the joke about 2 days after his wife passed away that, well, I'll say it now, and I do regret this.
No Context Wrestler Review will pick that one up. Anyway,
No
what we're talking about is Jim Ross now. Jim Ross now makes Dusty Rhodes then seem like Jim Ross in 1990. Or sorry.
No.
Dusty Rhodes then makes Jim Ross now seem like Jim Ross did in 1998 is what I should say.
You're wrong. Jim Ross now.
Jim Ross will still be like, here's an angle, I can sell it. Dusty Rhodes then was like, here's a list of sandwiches on sale. I don't care if Goldberg's about to win the title.
Yeah, exactly. Dusty Rhodes is actively trying to get a producer to order him a pizza while Hulk Hogan's walking to the ring. Yeah. Like, also the commentary team in WCW, and I'm starting to go on a jag, but it's so funny. Like, if you're paying attention, Bobby Heenan spoils Hulk Hogan's heel turn. Mm-hmm. Like, he's walking the ring.
I don't think he does. We've argued about this before.
He literally goes, but whose side is he on? Like, Bobby, you're going to find out in a second, you asshole.
Yeah, all he has to do is go, oh, the one time I'm actually happy to see Hulk Hogan. But instead, he plays the Bobby Heenan character, which is, I never trusted this motherfucker. And that's the other thing is Bobby Heenan, I mean, we shouldn't talk about how good Bobby Heenan is, but like, that's why the Dusty Rhodes character, because Dusty Rhodes should be like, I'm WCW, I'm NWA, I'm Southern Wrestling. These guys from up north are coming to try and fucking get us. Fuck you. And instead, they have him turn heel, but he's already beaten up. So what happens in the match is Louis Spicolli comes in to interfere on behalf of Scott Hall. Dusty Rhodes cuts off Spicolli, beats him up, and then beats up Zbyszko. It's lame. Like, why'd you beat up Spicolli then? It's not like Spicolli was like, okay, you're out now because you're shit.
Well, because Louis Spicolli was one of the wrestlers that was on the blood list so that Eric Bischoff could live forever, and Louis Spicolli had to be sacrificed.
I get it, but I'm just saying that like that is just another one of those because Dusty Rhodes' turn. A lot of people say that once they started letting everyone in the NWO, that's when it sucked, and it was. But like the Dusty Rhodes' turn was one of the ones where you're like, what? Why Dusty too? Like Eric Bischoff makes sense. Like
Eric Bischoff also doesn't make sense. It doesn't make.
Yeah,
Eric Bischoff joining the NWO. Well, the war's lost. The guy who runs one company works for the other guys. You now lose. That's not like the NWA. We're not going to rebook the NWO, but like it's this weird thing of that, and this also shows Dusty's ego. Right there is Dusty. I guarantee Dusty was like, I joined the NWO now, baby. I'm with the bad guy. I'm with the guys that are on top. Also, barely appears with them for the rest of this year, by the way. Like he
just kind of leaves the NWO.
He seconds the Outsiders for a bit, and that's all. and then he just kind of fucks off. And then I don't really know what he does. You know what I mean? Like, he stops being on commentary. I assume he's just hanging out at the back. Like,
he does spot appearances and comes in for some angles towards the end of WCW. But like mostly he's in that, like I said, the J.J. Dillon role, where it's like he shows up, he's Dusty Rhodes, then he leaves.
Yeah.
The real meat and potatoes, and this is funny because like I feel weird because it'd be like if someone who's 20 now did a podcast about Kanye, where it's like you only know the mental illness portion of his career. You don't know the like college dropout, and I feel like that's how we are about Dusty Rhodes, because like, hey, what's your first memory of Dusty Rhodes? Oh, polka dots and dancing, and that is the happiest. Actually, you know what?
It's Jay-Z. What it is it's if you got into Jay-Z with the Black Album, that's how I feel about Dusty Rhodes, which is like you get into him where it's like, this album's fucking awesome, and it's like, yeah, and everything after this is going to be kind of not great, but all of it reminds you of that really good album. And for some reason, you'll never go back and listen to his also amazing albums that were produced right before this Black Album. You'll just enjoy it. And it's like, all right, I agree. I'll do it that way.
The dying days of WCW, we should say Dusty Rhodes does come back and he tries to reignite his feud with Ric Flair, because why the fuck not, right? If you're going down, go down with what brought you to the dance 15 years ago?
Yeah, it's really
Which seems
weird.
A lot more dated than like we've seen Triple H restart feuds with The Rock, and everyone's like, oh, cool, because they kept themselves in shape. But these guys did a lot of, instead of midnight gym sessions, these guys did a lot of midnight, what you think would happen at midnight sessions. Like, they just got hammered and pissed in the bed.
The amount of pissing and shitting that actually takes place in beds as adults is so much more than you'd think.
Yeah, is it some instead of zero?
Yeah, I sharted recently.
Ooh, and it was farted.
It was a shit fart, and it was much more shit than it was fart.
Ooh.
And the amount of people that were like, been there. I was like, been there? What? I need to stop yelling. I'm not in my apartment, and I know the neighbors are gonna. I'm staying with someone who I guarantee gets text messages from neighbors about noise.
You can always tell who has an open dialogue about noise from their neighbors.
Oh,
you're like, oh wait, that fork drawer is very organized. I think I should just back out and find an Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like I got news for this. Is how
I see some spoons along with the forks. I'm like, all right, I can be here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with like my neighbors have all commented that like, what do you do in your apartment? And I'm like, I do a lot of podcasts, and they're like, that's it. And because I'm like, they're definitely walking by and just hear cunt, and they're like, what the fuck?
You, I imagine, have a hot plate with just a soup or a chili on at all times, and then you're like, I'm on Twitch and I'm playing this Japanese fuck game. Ooh, I made a lot of cum. Next week.
I have a really nice apartment that one guy that we both know, who I think quietly is a real bag of shit, tried to mock. And then I saw his apartment and I was like, no legs to stand on. No legs to stand on.
Yeah,
no legs to stand on. Yeah.
Short legs to stand on.
I also want to point out that he very briefly went to ECW, a run that I know happened, but I do not remember happening.
Dude,
he's Dusty Rhodes.
This run was fucking... Like, this is how you like do Dusty Rhodes, buddy. This is why DCW is the best, where it's like, we got fucking Dusty Rhodes now because he just wants to wrestle, and I'll fucking exploit that. Dude, it was the best. Dusty Rhodes versus Steve Corino, and then Dusty Rhodes, like, there is it's on YouTube. I encourage everyone to watch it. There's a 6-man tag, Steve Corino, Tajiri, and Steve Corino. It's not a 6-man tag. Essentially, I think it starts out as like... it's a regular match between like Corino and Tommy Dreamer, and then Tajiri comes out. It's that whole TNN feud, and then everyone comes out. New Jack comes out. They play the song, and then everyone's in trouble. Rhino comes out, clears house. Who's gonna save it? It's fucking Dusty Rhodes. No theme song, just walks out. And it's kind of like, oh shit, you pissed off Uncle Rick. Like, that's what he does. It's and he just fucking clears the ring, man. It's great, and it's exactly how that guy always should have been used, which is like, it's how oddly AEW is using Sting right now, which is he clears the ring on everybody, but then when it comes to like actually facing top guys, like Carino was their top guy at that time, he loses, but it's like a hard fought match. And it's Dusty Rhodes, so all he has to do is to fit into the new way of hardcore wrestling, even the year 2000, is it's a bull rope match. We're just going to bleed.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say this right now. I have never seen, it's so interesting seeing Dusty Rhodes in ECW. I just remembered a photo from a PWI insider where it's this weird thing of he's wearing such a tight shirt that like, because I don't know why, but he's wearing this very tight sleeveless shirt. And it's the only times where it's the first time where all of his blade marks on his forehead are so noticeable. And then from then forward, you're like this. Like it's the weird thing of like Dusty's clearly happier in his life, but really looks like he like ages after being in ECW. Is that correct?
I don't know. You know what it is? He doesn't wear a cowboy hat really low on his face to cover up the blade scars, which he has to on like, I feel like on PG TV when he just opens it up. Because that's the thing about Dusty Rhodes is I think he might be and this is an odd thing to apply to wrestling, especially a guy who wrestles in the era where like it's real, not fake. He's the most, well, even more than Hulk Hogan, he has more range. Other than being, he might be the best babyface of all time because he has so much range. There's so many different things he can do as a babyface. Because he can be comedy guy very easily. Like Colt Cabana, who we both love and obviously are biased towards. But Colt Cabana is essentially like, what if Dusty Rhodes was a bit funnier?
Yeah, that's a great point.
A lot funnier
Dylan.
if he's listening.
Dylan, I can't believe it. You finally made a good point.
But that's all. You could just take aspects of Dusty Rhodes, like an entire one aspect of Dusty Rhodes' character is Magnum TA.
Yeah, absolutely. Magnum TA is just Dusty Rhodes.
One aspect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and you have this, and the fact that he doesn't even rely on his weight, where it's like, is essentially his gimmick of how he wins matches is the same way you would explain Mike Tyson. Like, oh, if he hits you, you're dead. He just has a magic fist. Oh, he has a magic elbow. Because remember, like, people will do bear hug spots, and then Dusty Rhodes would be like, oh, God. And then he would, like,
get the elbow
thing
out.
Where he would get his elbow, but he was so good at it because he would get his elbow between them first. And then the other guy's committed the bear hug, so it's kind of a thing where it's like, even if you know wrestling's bullshit, you can completely understand, oh, he can't adjust his hands to stop the elbow, so now it's just this guy creating space, which if you know, like it's all great. And him and Dusty Rhodes in ECW is how they booked, like I said, Sting now and how you book a legend. He beats everybody, but then the one guy he loses to, he gets out of there, he goes into TNA. And then in TNA he doesn't lose. It's just TNA booking.
No, in TNA he becomes both. He becomes basically Kenny Omega and Tony Khan.
In TNA he comes out and he is there like everybody. He's there for 3 whole years somehow.
Somehow he is there for 3 whole fucking years as like a bad guy. He has the fucking feud with Sports Entertainment Extreme.
Oh, he hates sex.
Oh, of course he does. I fucking like Vince Russo is so lucky this is all forgotten because Vince Russo has somehow regained credibility a bit in the internet wrestling community. But you look at how he booked early TNA and you're just like, was he literally just taking a chicken and dropping it on a thing with different ideas? And then whatever the idea the chicken shat on, it's like, there we go.
It is crazy to look back at that because it's like, oh, he doesn't think anything in WCW that he did was bad. We should take a break because we haven't yet, but then we'll be back really quickly.
A break yet?
No.
Oh, hell.
All right, break and then start again. Okay, enjoy the break.
Oh, wait. Let me just plug in my computer because I have 20 minutes of power yet left.
And the audience is going to keep all that in after the break.
Now, okay, so I love the aughts for Dusty Rhodes. We're going right back in. We're not even welcoming you back from the break. Fuck you. How about that? This is
unwelcome back.
Yeah. I'm lifting my shirt to reveal to you a Barry Darso tattoo, and I'm pointing at it and saying, this means not welcome. Now listen.
There you go.
Yeah. It's a shame that movie was so filled with hate. It's so quotable.
Yeah, I know. John loves the basketball scene. That's the whole movie to him. Continue.
And the grocery store scene. No other part of the... Yeah.
No other part of it's good. Anyway, so Dusty Rhodes...
lessons from movies. Go ahead. Dusty Rhodes in the aughts is the best. He's literally just, I'm the commissioner of this wrestling organization, the commissioner that beats people up. And they're like, what? He's like, yep. And then they hold an election. I believe they hold an election between him and Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette wins. It's so good.
That's him in TNA, but we should talk about him in WWE, where it's like, because there's one story about Dusty Rhodes in WWE that everyone points to as why it's shit.
Now we're getting to Dusty Rhodes booking and stuff like that in the WWE. So he has a bunch of fucking. He's in the independent circle. He's showing up at weird hotel ballrooms. Is he got a bull rope? Is he wearing cowboy boots? Goddamn right he is. Is he walking around telling people he should have saved his money? Here's the thing with Dusty Rhodes. I guarantee he will always be talking about, I should have saved my money, but he'll be saying it in front of a really nice car. Like Dusty Rhodes, especially when he's in like those WWE roundtables, you can just tell like, Dusty, that shirt is custom made from a big and tall store, which probably means it costs $18,000.
Should say this too, like those WWE roundtables are great.
Yeah. Because they're smoking cigars. Vince McMahon doesn't know what's happening. They say so much crazy shit. And it's the best Dusty Rhodes because it's Dusty Rhodes relaxed, being the I've earned it alpha old dog of the of wrestling. Like he's like, yeah, I've done everything. I'm still really good at this. Like the thing that is like, what's weird is all the NWA guys kind of like they never burned as bright as Hulk Hogan, but they didn't also explode in a mixture of wife fucking and overt racism. And instead, like Dusty Rhodes didn't make the millions and millions that Hulk Hogan did, but Dusty Rhodes will be remembered forever of being this legend, especially because he, along with Triple H, which I think what you're getting at, were the architects of the good part of NXT.
Yes, and what I was getting to actually was, so 2005 he signs that Legends deal. 2005 is very special because it's like they realize, oh, DVDs are this crazy great business for us.
Oh my God, yeah, it is. Like this was the
even more so than than going to the Hall of Fame. It's like they come out with a DVD and then they feature you on TV for a month, and then everyone gets to learn how great Dusty Rhodes is. It should be said about those roundtables as well. Ric Flair has this weird imposter syndrome thing where, like, during this period, 2005, during him in Evolution, it's like Triple H builds up Ric Flair's confidence, which sounds nuts, but builds him back up to being like, you're Ric Flair. Dusty Rhodes does not have that problem. No, Dusty Rhodes is like, I'm fucking Dusty Rhodes. I'm the fucking best.
But here's the difference between them. It's a musical analogy. Ric Flair is the best lead singer of any rock and roll band ever. Like he's just such a fucking good performer, but he only has that one skill. Dusty Rhodes is like, he's a really good bass player and he can write songs and he can produce and he's also worked at a record company. Like he's just much more versatile. And also his vice is food and not alcohol. So his brain and ego have been humbled. And yeah, I guarantee he'll tell you where you can get a fucking chicken parm in Tennessee that will make you come. But like, that's way more easier to deal with in a 60-year-old than like Ric Flair, like walking up to a girl in a bar going, smells ripe. Woo! And then going back to his table at the Chili's. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like the reason also you have to build up Ric Flair's confidence is also, and this is why the WWE is so fucked up, is the WWE was also not letting him be Ric Flair. He couldn't give promos the way he could because they're like, you need to let Dave Bautista and Randy Orton give promos. So you basically have to be a manager that just wears a bathrobe. And like Ric Flair is such a fucking ego, he can't deal with it. Well, this is Dusty Rhodes' end of his life is this amazing renaissance where he's like, baby, you want to see how you book a match? Here's what you do. You get one guy who's good, one guy's bad. They go at each other. There we go. Like Jim Cornette talks about this time, and Dusty Rhodes explains, he's like, you want to know all wrestling booking is white hat, black hat, white hat wins eventually. He's like, you just got to figure out how to do that in a way that the crowd can't recognize right away. And you're like, yeah, that's exactly right. Why aren't they doing that in any of the wrestling promotions? All the wrestling promotions right now are black hat versus also a black hat, but their other black hats not as black as the first hat probably, and the other black hats go into a bunch of companies, and I don't like Mexico. Like that's like
I mean, AEW is doing it pretty straight up, but they're also kind of adding so many characters that it's like, okay, well, you're really like muddying the picture here. The real big thing that Dusty Rhodes does is he works with the women, right? He works with female wrestlers and he works with male wrestlers on their promos, and everyone is like, "Oh, you can just talk to Dusty Rhodes in NXT because Dusty Rhodes will just be eating catering what looks like for everybody, but that's just Dusty Rhodes' catering because he has a special deal."
Yeah, you would think that that's the catering room. That's just Dusty Rhodes' office. Why are there 3 wedding cakes in here? Baby, I've been married 3 times. Wait, do you eat a full wedding cake every day?
I celebrate every anniversary, baby.
Yeah, baby. I
Divorce,
celebrate
wedding,
Yeah,
cake
I
day.
thought for 2 of the wives, it's the wedding cake celebration of the fact we are not together. Third wife still with her. Wedding cake celebration to say we got together through another day.
So we should say this: Dusty Rhodes has this. They have this feud with Legacy. So they bring him in at a really good angle. Sorry, where they introduce Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is in a Legacy. Dusty Rhodes helps Cody, just basically like, he's my son and I'm gonna help him. And then Randy Orton RKO's Dusty Rhodes, and Cody chooses Randy Orton over his own dad, which is like,
it's so awesome.
Really good shit. And Dusty is performing his ass off here. And then later on, after they've killed Cody Rhodes and tried to bring him back from the dead, and he's teaming with his brother, obviously you get Dusty Rhodes doing promos up against Triple H. And it's Triple H and Stephanie, the Authority, and a thing that completely changed. Dusty Rhodes never appeared on WWE television after this. Is he's going face to face with Triple H, being like, "You want to fight? You're going to get a fight," and going face to face. And then Stephanie sticks her face in between them, and Dusty Rhodes just face palms her.
Oh, it's amazing.
She moves his hand out of the way, and he just does it again.
Yeah.
And that little subtle thing where he's like, "This is between me and Triple H." Like, get out of the shot, basically, to the woman who like pretty much runs the company. This is why they script everything, and it's like no one can ever. It's so weird because like the heels, like Stephanie and Triple H can have egg on his face because he's a good enough performer to get past that, but Stephanie can like never have egg on her face
because what it is that Stephanie is the son of, the daughter of Vince.
Well, she's always going to be around, right?
Yeah, and it's also she believes that she is part of the reason the Attitude Era is successful.
Mm-hmm.
So to her, it's like a guy from the failed company moving Stone Cold Steve Austin out of the way. Like, I got news for you. What Dusty Rhodes did was right in the play of professional wrestling. What's so weird about the McMahons is they're so adamant it's not real unless they're involved, and then it's like, but what we do is real. It's like, what?
Yeah, they're adamant it's not real, but then they treat their characters like they're like everything, the alpha above alphas. But just, I know that seems small, but like you can hear a lot of shoot interviews on like, oh, that is the reason. No, very big. That's the reason why Dusty Rhodes was never on TV again, because they're like, oh, Dusty won't follow the script, when in reality it was like he's just making the story way, way better.
But again, this is why the WWE is so fucking frustrating. It's like he's not following the script. He's doing his job, which is making everyone get excited for the match. That's, again, why, and again, we're not going to talk about modern wrestling because the WWE right now is so weird. Like, it's clearly just for sale, but it's so fucking weird. Also,
I shouldn't say he was never he was on TV after that because they did another reunite they did another Goldust Stardust angle. So he was on TV after that, but they shortly after that curtailed off the Rhodes brothers versus the Authority feud.
Yeah, and it's also a thing, by the way, if you ever wonder which son Dusty liked more, it's clearly Cody.
Well, also, we should say that Cody had the benefit of knowing old Dusty, where it's like, okay, I'm winding down in wrestling and I just do spots. And this is the other thing I really like about Dusty Rhodes. He never said he retired. He just did less wrestling, where it's like Ric Flair's like, I retired. Okay, I'm coming back. It's like, no, you're just going to wrestle less. But he finally retires basically in the WWE. Go for it.
Yeah, he does. He retires in the WWE and was the head writer and creative director for the weekly NXT sort of rebrand when it went from this weird reality show where the Miz bullied Daniel Bryan to like independent wrestling, but NWA independent wrestling with WWE production value.
Yeah.
And was so fucking well done. Like you could see it's again.
Well, it was FCW again.
It's the frustrating thing about WWE is they actually are really good at building stuff sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like at this portion, they built a really good, interesting
they give people what they want. You have
all of those promoters all of those wrestlers that he was a part of went on to huge success. And then Vince, like again, and then it degrades less and less and less because they need a guy who has X amount of experience in the business to be like, no, wrestler, young hotshot 20-year-old jacked up on creatine. My name is Dusty Rhodes. I have more fucking experience in my foreskin than you do. Here's why you do these 4 things. Do you understand? Like, fucking John Moxley wouldn't be the kind of fun. Essentially, he's just being fucking Ricky Vaughn from Major League, but in camo shorts, without Dusty Rhodes being like, take your time walking out to the ring. Look around at the crowd. There's all these little things that are so clearly a Dusty Rhodes influence on how to do things that we're just getting less and less because of how Vince McMahon runs his company. Is like, that's not what's important. What's important is that he has a name that people can chant. I don't give a fuck about chanting the name. We'll just cheer loud, you weird man.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes through there that I couldn't even hazard. Like, there's so many little things that happen that people try and recreate on podcasts, and we don't claim to know all of them. We don't claim to know pretty much any of them, but what you can see is that Dusty Rhodes did some great work in the promos, and he would be great to have a class, and I don't know if he could ever teach it, but he should have a class on just like how to present yourself as a star no matter what, because he never, ever, when he was on TV, wasn't like, oh, I'm the star of this segment. No matter what. And like Ric Flair on TV, you can see him get punked off so much. You can never see Dusty Rhodes get punked off.
No, because again, Dusty Rhodes was way better at protecting himself, and he also knew every facet of the game. You could kind of fucking trick Ric Flair a lot of it. You can't trick.
Well, Ric Flair never, like you said, Ric Flair is a great wrestler, but Dusty Rhodes is like a guy who can. Ric Flair is like, I don't know, what do we say, like De Niro, and Dusty Rhodes is like someone who can do everything. There you go. Clint Eastwood. Write, direct, produce, he can do the whole thing. And when you're like, know the other side of the coin, it's way easier to be like, oh, here's how they're... When you've managed people before, it's way easier to be like, oh, here's how they're trying to manage me. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And also, it's Dusty Rhodes. Like, you can see him in the... A great thing to do is watch those... Just watch Dusty Rhodes' posture and watch everyone else's posture of those WWE roundtables where it's like the first time they... Because now it's like you shoot... Everyone has a shoot interview on everything. Like, you can shoot on the salad you had yesterday. But then was like a lot of this information was coming out for the first time. Dusty Rhodes is leaned back in chairs, smoking cigars with this posture of like, everyone's going to fucking listen to me. Every time he talks... It's not too long-winded, but he doesn't really clearly isn't listening that much to what everyone else is saying, and everyone else is sitting forward. Everyone else is sitting forward, like whereas Dusty Rhodes is like, if I decided to just be like turn all the cameras off, everyone would be like, I guess this is not a TV show anymore.
Yeah, it's how people. It's one of those things where it's a
Rhodes versus Hogan would have been a crazy match, by the way, because that would have been nuts. That's a weird match that I just thought of now, where it's like, wow, that would have been insane.
Well, wait a minute, if they had ever done Rhodes versus Hogan. What would have been so interesting is it wouldn't have been so much about the match. It would have been so much about the before and after, like how they're playing to that crowd. Holy fuck.
I just envision Rock versus Austin. Sorry, Rock Hogan, the WrestleMania match, but like on steroids where it's like, oh yeah, The Rock's a worker and he was determined to make the match. Dusty Rhodes will literally just shake his butt until there's no Hulkamaniacs left in that crowd.
Yeah. The other thing you have to remember is Dusty Rhodes not the best wrestler. The Rock in that Hogan match is really fucking shows how good of a wrestler he is. Like Hogan Dusty would be 40 minutes of entrances and then just leg drop, elbow back and forth for 30 minutes. And then I guarantee they're both bleeding. And then they become friends, pose off, ass shake, ear to the crowd. That's the match. And I would never not be watching that match.
They'd bury me with that match playing on an iPhone.
Hunter S. Thompson quite famously used to write to pornography, which really makes him seem like a yucky boy. I would be doing that, but just with that match.
I'd be doing it, but like with the pornography still.
Yeah. The porn would also.
But I guess back then it'd be easier to be like, oh, I'm writing to like this porno that has like a, at least like a storyline. But now it'd be like, I'm writing to 8th Street Latinas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wonder if that girl's going to get in the bang bus again.
Oh, she did.
Know what's fun about? Know what's fun about porn?
Tell me.
Everyone understands all of the references. No one acknowledges it. Like if you, like it would open
everyone
up
who listens to this for sure.
Everyone in society, buddy. I live in Los Angeles.
Everyone in society.
Yeah,
you live in Los Angeles where they film it all, though.
What's so good is there was a Starbucks in Valley Village in Los Angeles, which is close to where all of the porn offices are. And you can really tell who a creep is because if someone says, let's meet at that like it's known in the city, that's the porn star Starbucks.
That's sick.
And whenever someone's like, let's meet there, you're like, you want to look at porn stars.
Yeah, you're me.
Yeah. By the way, that's where Dylan got actually Airbnb's the storeroom of that Starbucks.
It's two places I didn't go when I went to LA. There was the beach where Hogan worked out and the place where River Phoenix died. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life.
Didn't we go to the Rainbow Room? I think I could have, I thought I pointed at it.
Maybe. I just wanted to beat off on the ground where River Phoenix died.
I already have. If your cum touches the asphalt, actually, Joaquin Phoenix shows up and gives you $50.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for honoring my brother. Also, Muscle
Dusty
Beach.
Rhodes,
I will tell you this. Let me say this about Muscle Beach. Just a fun thing. If you go there is always just one guy working out, and you can tell not a fun man.
Yeah, of course not. I watched this documentary where it's like just because that Venice Beach Gold's Gym where Schwarzenegger basically made his name for himself. There's dudes who live in they live in the parking lot. So there's like a lot of dudes and they're not young. They're like 45, which is like makes you feel like, oh yeah, I guess people say stand-up comedy, and I guess there's a lot of other versions of it where like going for your dream at some point you're like, oh no, I guess I'm not going to be famous. But nothing's as weird as like, man, I hope those 20-year-olds respect my bench.
Yeah.
Even though, the dude dedicating your whole life to fitness, he's certainly going to live longer than both of us. So
that's not true.
Or maybe not. Yeah, it's true. He's probably taken some steroids that are
it's also,
not steroids.
Dylan, we come from Scottish, Irish, English stock in Canada. We're essentially bulletproof.
I don't know. My father-in-law's uncle just passed away yesterday, and everyone was supposed to. I was like, isn't that sad? I'm like, no. How long do you Mediterranean people live? That a 68-year-old man has an uncle.
That's crazy. So crazy.
He's 68. His uncle is alive.
No, you do not get to have an uncle at 68.
My wife's grandparents just recently passed away, last year. They were both in their 90s. Like everyone is in their 90s. Yeah. Midlife crisis for these people is like 60. Where they're like, I'm hitting it.
But my family also lives crazy long. Like, here's the thing. Like, my grandfather, 2 strokes, and not like little strokes, 2 massive in the hospital for weeks strokes, no rehab. My mom will always tell the story. This was the argument. You have to do the rehab. This is a brain injury. And he went, those doctors don't know what they're talking about. Everyone knows you got to go on walks to get the brain working. And so we'd walk to the end of the driveway, get a newspaper, walk up to the fucking veranda, sit down, no matter the weather. That was his rehab. Here's his point. Walking, good for the brain. Fresh air, good for the brain. That man died at 85. He had 10% lung capacity for 30 years, 2 strokes, and he smoked cigarettes. He smoked cigarettes in the daytime, pipe cigars at nighttime, and then quit when, quote unquote, he didn't like the smell of his house. Do you understand that man went, I got to stop smoking here because, by the way, he could have just kept, Dylan's turned his microphone into a penis. What I'm trying to say is the rest of the review will continue for another 50 years. I'm talking for
Imagine we're doing this podcast for 80. So
this is the greatest bit ever. Is Dylan just
we're going to review
microphone to his penis, and I've never been happier in my entire life. Dylan, let's hear what your penis has to say. I love Dusty Rhodes.
There you go.
Good point.
Dusty Rhodes died of being a chunko in 2015. He was 69 YOLO years old.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes fucking died of being a fucking legend with a fat cock and a cool name. And
that's young, right?
Yeah, that's young. That's young for a guy.
He just lost a bunch of weight too. He just lost a bunch of weight.
He was also an athlete that never took care of himself. Do you understand how angry his heart was at him every day? Please stop thinking cottage cheese is a recovery food if you're putting it on a pizza, Dusty, you fucking psycho.
So, yeah, he and apparently, according to Cody Rhodes, an interview he did with, I think it was Bleacher Report shortly afterwards, but as soon as he passed away, his wife of then, I want to get this right, of how many years was his wife? His wife of 37 years washed his body. Like, because that was that's like a southern, in the southern states, she washed his body after, which is, while weeping, which is a powerful image.
That is very powerful. It's interesting to know that Dusty Rhodes and the Boston Bombers both wanted the same thing done when they die, which is Dusty Rhodes' wife to wash their bodies.
That's good stuff. John, what's the high point of this era of Dusty Rhodes'
Every moment is a good idea. This entire Dusty Rhodes leaving the NWA, this is then just peak Dusty Rhodes just having a great time. Shows up in the WWE, shakes that ass, heads back to WCW, makes some decisions, ass shaking, of course. And then heads on to ECW, time to make some more decisions. Will I shake my ass? Of course. Then independent wrestling, that's just ass shaking, no decision making. TNA, couple of choices made. Oh, we're shaking that ass. Head on over to the WWE, face palm a woman, Dusty's personal dream, and then boom, more ass shaking. Then he died doing what is love. You know what he did doing love? Complaining about the flavor of that salad, and then his heart exploded because his wife gave him one artichoke that was not covered in fried dough.
Exactly. I think the high point is like the polka dots run, because I think that's one of the better, like, and I think that's also the short span of that run is like how you should book these dudes, where it's like come in, do his thing, leave. You don't need Sting in AEW for fucking 4 years. Just like bada boom, bada bing, he's out, bitch. Great stuff. And also, I think one of the best things about Dusty Rhodes is he could wrestle that style legitimately until the day he passed on. And watching Dusty Rhodes, where it's like
you could weekend in Bernie's.
You could not weekend at Bernie's because he wouldn't have the sense. He wouldn't have the sixth sense for what to do with the crowd. But what I was going to say is watching him in a match with New Jack, it was like, oh, New Jack's just being Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Just with weapons. He just doesn't have he just hits people and then he dances. And then Dusty Rhodes with him with an elbow and it's dancing. It's like, how didn't New Jack and Dusty Rhodes get like a run as the ECW tag team champions? That would have been amazing.
Because Paul Heyman didn't have his eye on the ball. Like this was all.
It would be 25 minutes of good dancing, and then Tajiri just gets confused and cries.
Like I guarantee, if Paul Heyman had been really smart, he would have just said to Dusty, "How about you just you just book the company for a bit?" And I guarantee ECW would have lasted 2 more years.
This is the other thing that they don't do in modern wrestling companies ever, that they used to do in the territories, was like the Jarretts, all of the territories that we talk about being really influential, honestly, like Bill Watts, the Jarretts, all these guys would take like a vacation. They would take like 2 months off and they just hand the book to somebody. Like Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry
Lawler switched every 6 months.
Yeah, Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler. And it also is like, oh, the product's going to be different now because someone different's booking it and they work together well, which is a lot to ask for.
But this is also the weird thing of why they don't do a wrestling season basically in the WWE, which is just basically, never say it, but it's one of those things where it's like you have certain guys that are around at this time and other, like you don't need, like, especially before AEW, they had their pick of everyone in wrestling. They could have just done like, here's the guys that we'll have now, here's the other guys we'll have later. You know what I mean? They just never needed to do it. Mm-hmm. And Dusty Rhodes would have loved that because, you know, Lord knows he just wants to be in Orlando, going to an Outback Steakhouse and having a Merlot and that weird, that wine carafe that they only have at chain family style restaurants. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and I guess Dusty Rhodes was part of the era where it's like, oh no, we have to work all the time because we get extra money for being the booker.
Yeah, and also I don't like Dusty Rhodes also came from an era where it's like wife. I don't want to talk.
Yeah. It's true. She raises him, and then I tell the missing link to suck his own dick on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, You know, hon, you and I have similar jobs. While you're telling young Dustin how to blow his nose, I'm explaining to the missing link that blow should not go up your nose.
All right, that's the end of this fucking episode. John, promote what you want to promote, and then
How about
I'll
you all
say
come to
stuff.
my house and give me fucking money, you dumb bitches?
There
My
you go.
album comes out August 31st. It is on Spotify and Apple Music with some preview tracks. Please go listen and enjoy. And also take off your shirt, take off your pants, show me your butt.
There you go. August 31st, John has a new album out.
Also, September 5th, I am launching my new Twitch stream, Untitled Twitch stream. That's twitch.tv/Untitled Twitch stream. Go and follow it there. It is 2 to 4 Pacific time, and Sunday through Thursday. It will also soon be a podcast. If you want to hear me still say really crazy shit, but not about wrestling, come and still discussed.
YOLO. So it's at Dylan God on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see some dum-dums, at Wrestler Review, Twitter, Instagram. We have a TikTok now, because fuck, who cares about live? Patreon.com/Wrestler Review. Redbubble.com/people./Wrestler Review. That's the end of this show. I'm going to go away now. Fuck. Shit.